Thanks so much for joining us for another edition of KFFB's Open Mic program. And we do have Attorney General of Arkansas, Leslie Rutledge, with us right now. And Leslie, thanks so much for taking time and talking with us.
Well, always a pleasure to be on with you.
Well, one thing we've been seeing these protests throughout America and here in Arkansas as well, and we've even seen some curfews, which I haven't seen the statewide curfews as many areas as I've seen in the past few days. Kind of let's talk a little bit about what's going on in your perspective. Law-abiding citizens protest is what America's all about, and I am all for it. I think this is great. But when someone breaks the law, a rock, water bottle that is thrown, or any kind of disruption, that breaks the law. You're a lawbreaker. You should go to jail.
Well, this is a very difficult time in our state and in our nation following the spark of the just tragic death of Mr. Floyd. And that's what has led, we have seen people coming out and expressing their frustrations. And we as government leaders are listening. But you're absolutely right. We're going to do everything we can to protect people's right to protest and to protest peacefully. Unfortunately, there have been agitators that have come in and demonstrators that are burning buildings, throwing rocks into buildings, throwing them at police officers, attacking journalists, and that cannot be tolerated. The governor has done a remarkable job stepping in and having Colonel Bill Bryant with the state police, working very closely, particularly with the Little Rock Police Department, where we've seen the bulk of these issues. We have seen them in Conway and Bentonville as well, but the bulk of it has been directed at the state capitol itself, matter of fact, and damage being done. But again, I think it's important for Arkansans and Americans. All good people are appalled at the manner with which Mr. Floyd was killed. That officer had no business being a law enforcement officer. I'm glad that those charges have been brought against the other officers. However, we cannot have other acts of violence to meet violence. We've got to sit down and have civil discourse.
When you look at this as Attorney General, and you've seen where he was written up talking about the officer that committed the murder, as many are calling it, but he was written up for this violence as an officer many times. How do we address that problem through the courts?
Well, that's something as a society that we have to look at, because we need to be able, even in our public servants, and certainly in our public servants, to be able to root out those individuals who do not need to be law enforcement officers, who do not need to be school teachers, who do not need to be handling funds on behalf of the state or on behalf of a municipality. And so we need to be able to have ways in which, if someone is a bad actor, if they have committed unethical acts or certainly criminal acts, that we can take them off taxpayer payroll. Because again, that man had no business being a law enforcement officer. And we have so many incredible law enforcement officers in Arkansas and across the country that go out every single day for the right reason, protecting people. Special agent in charge at my office has a gunshot wound from a man that when he was kicking in a door and going through the door, that person shot him. Law enforcement responded back, and they made sure, even though my agent, and this was before he came to work with me, he made sure that the criminal who fired the shot at him survived. And so we have so many good law enforcement officers that have those kind of stories and go out every single day to protect us. But we also need to listen to those people who are not comfortable with law enforcement. And we've got to find ways to make sure that they understand that we are here to protect them and that we are listening to them.
Now, something else we got to talk about. There's a big thing going on that a lot of people are throwing money away. Let's talk about that for a moment.
Very important to folks, because I almost made the same mistake too many people have. The federal government, the U.S. Treasury, has sent out cards to people for payroll unemployment assistance, and unfortunately, people think these are scams, and they are throwing away their envelopes. And if you receive an envelope that has on the outside of it, very plain, an envelope that says Money Network Cardholder Services, do not throw this away. One of the attorneys at my office who actually works in public protection had thrown her envelope away that her family had received and had to dig through it out of a dumpster to get that. That is what the U.S. Treasury is sending to eligible taxpayers as part of the CARES Act. So please, if you get a blank envelope with a debit card in it that came from Money Network Cardholder Services. That is your money as a taxpayer that you have gotten from the federal government under the CARES Act.
So it's a credit card. I've talked to some folks who have done this. They've threw it away, and it's a white plain envelope. They said it was something that they just thought it was junk mail. So this is something we need to bring to their attention. And we don't want to throw money away at this time.
No, and this is, it could be several $100s or $1,000 depending on your family and the taxes that you have paid and what the IRS and the Treasury deemed that you were due. So again, if you received a white envelope, and everyone should have received one by now, so if you have not thrown your trash out and hauled it off to the dump, go through your trash and look, because again, it's a plain white envelope, and on the outside of it, it has Money Network Cardholder Services.
And we also need to mention that scams. We got to be careful. There is scammers out there that will call and pretend that they are with the government or with a bank and trying to take people's money.
That's right. And so if someone calls asking for your Social Security number, bank account number, any of that personal information, simply hang up, because that is a scam artist trying to get your money, trying to steal your identity. And always, I want folks to call us at the Attorney General's office, and you can call us at an 800 number. It's 800-482-8982. That's 800-482-8982. Visit us at arkansasag.gov. That's arkansasag.gov.
Well, Attorney General, thanks so much for taking time and talking with us. And, I look at the protest as America. I heard a lot of people saying, it's very upsetting. I said, well, that's part of protest is part of what makes America great. And that's why we love to see it, but we want to see it peacefully.
That's right. And it's, as I said earlier, Bob, it's, it's important that we listen and that we hear folks because they are upset and discouraged. And, that was a spark, this, horrible murder of this man sparked this outrage across the United States. And in Arkansas, I can assure you that I am listening. I've had many conversations with Governor Hutchinson. Governor Hutchinson is listening and taking proactive steps to protect the protesters, but also keeping law and order. It's time that all of us look for ways to work together heart to heart and not fighting one another eye to eye.
Well, thank you so much for taking time and talking with us. I know you got a busy schedule. It's always a joy having you on the radio.
Thank you. You have a blessed day.